Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Prepare and prevent, don't prepare and repent. Anonymous. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Dr. Mahnoor Khan and I'm going to present on the topic of types of disasters under the kind supervision of my professor, Dr. Saira Afzal. In this presentation, we're gonna learn in introduction to disasters, hazards, types of hazards and disasters, comparisons between disasters and hazards, characteristics and impact of disasters, explanations of types of disasters, recent updates, and at the end, we were gonna do some MCQs. At the end of this presentation, participants would be able to describe disasters and hazards, types, differences, and characteristics and impact of disasters. So here are the different definition of disasters. I'm gonna read the WHO. The any occurrence that cause damage, ecological disruption, loss of human life, deterioration of health and health services on a scale sufficient to warrant an extraordinary response from outside the affected community of area. It is definition by WHO. An occurrence either natural or man-made that causes human suffering and creates human needs that victims cannot alleviate without assistance. It's the definition of disaster by American Red Cross. Disaster is a catastrophe, mishap, calamity, or grave occurrence affecting any area from natural and man-made causes or accident or negligence which results in substantial loss of life, human suffering, or damage to any destruction of property or damage to degradation of environment, and if of such a nature and magnitude as to be beyond the capacity of humanity of the affected areas. While hazard is a threat with a natural human that has a potential to cause loss of life, injury, property damage, socioeconomic disruption, or environmental degradation, hazard may not always bring disaster, but if not properly handled or well prepared, they can bring big disasters. It remains as threat so long it doesn't bring disaster. So hazard and vulnerability will lead towards the disaster risk and ultimately the disaster. Function of hazards and vulnerability. If vulnerables are reduced, then disasters can be minimized from hazards. So here is the link between vulnerability, hazard, and exposure. Vulnerability is the susceptibility to damage and capacity to cope with adapt to disturbances, while hazards are waves, storms, tsunamis, erosions. Exposure is community and infrastructure located along the coastal and low-lying areas. What makes communities and environment more vulnerable? The first factor is poverty, second is population explosion, third is lack of skill and social services, fourth is fragile community, fifth one is weak economy, and poor proper essential infrastructure and materials. Here's the definition of hazard, disaster, and vulnerability. We have discussed the hazard and disaster. Vulnerability is a condition or set of conditions that reduces people's ability to prepare for, withstand, or respond to a hazard. Extent to which an element is likely to be damaged or disrupted by hazard, ability or resilience of society to withstand a disaster. Capacity is the positive condition or abilities which increase a community's ability to deal with hazard. Hazard may be of two types: slow, which takes time, while second one is sudden. In slow, there are floods, droughts, climatic global warming, cyclones, storms, etc. While in a rapid one, there are earthquake, landslides, volcanoes, tsunamis, industrial accidents, etc. There are three types of disaster: natural disaster, human cause. There are three types of hazards: natural hazards, human caused hazards, and technological hazards. Here's a difference between the hazards and a disaster. Hazard is a dangerous situation that poses a threat to human life, while disaster is an event that completely causes damage to human life and property. Hazard has a less critical consequences, while a disaster has more critical consequences and more catastrophic. Hazard take its full shape after a series of events which might have led to it happen, while disaster often happens in a short time, causing more severe effects. Here are the characteristics of a disaster. Disasters are isolated events, predictability and controllability can be checked, speed of onset can be assessed, length of forewarning or late time is available, time of occurrence is decided, scale of disasters can be measured, in intensity, scale, duration, and spatial extension can be checked. Disaster are function of hazard, vulnerability, and exposure. Hazards leads to disaster, vulnerability leads to disasters. Here are the factors which affect the disasters. There are host factors and environmental factors. In host factors, there are age, immunization status, degree of mobility, and emotional stability. While in environmental factors, there are physical factors, chemical factors, biological factors, social factors, and psychological factors. Here are the impact and effects of disaster. Deaths and disabilities are impact of the disaster. There can be psychological problems, and there can be increase of communicable diseases, food shortage, and shortage of drugs and medical supply can be there. Infrastructure can be lost. Impact on critical infrastructure can occur like in water supply, communication, transportation, power supply, environmental and ecosystem disruption can occur. Social and economical losses and disruption of business can occur. There is a huge impact on mental health as a result of disaster. It can be in form of post-traumatic stress disorder. In stage one, there is androgenic surge. In stage two, there is helplessness. In stage three, there is despondency and demoralization. On children, developmental age is more important. Preschoolers can face the increased arousal and fear. School-going children can face the recklessness, psychosomatic signs. While in adolescent age, there can be partake in rescue and recovery, regression, withdrawal possibility. In adulthood, there is increased risk of physical injury than mental health. Mental health responses to disasters are distress reaction that can be in form of vulnerability, blaming, insomnia, mum's irritability. There can be mental disorder in form of anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, complex grief. There could be health risk behaviors in form of smoking, alcohol, over dedication, limit use of social networking. Public health issues which are being faced after a disaster. There could be assessment of health and medical care delivery, rapid assessment of community health and medical needs, delivery of health and medical care, pharmaceutical supply, portable water, safe food and sanitation and hygiene, injury and illness surveillance, vector control. There should be faced solid waste management, hazardous materials registry, mental health, sheltering and housing, mass congregation, handling of disease, staffing, humor control, and public service announcements. Now we're going to discuss the types of disaster. There are two types of disaster. It could be natural or man-made. In natural, there is meteorological, climate, tropological, and hydrological. They could be environmental or biological, while man-made could be in form of technological, industrial accident, human management failure, human conflicts, and warfare. Here we're going to compare the natural disaster with man-made disaster. Natural disasters are caused by natural force, while man-made are caused by activities of men. Examples of natural disasters are tsunamis, floods, landslides, hurricanes, etc. While man-made disasters include the hazardous material spills, explosions, chemical or biological attacks. In natural disasters, steps can taken to minimize the effect, while in man-made disasters can be avoided completely by careful planning and prevention method. So, what is natural disaster? A natural disaster can cause loss of life or property damage and tropical leave some economical damage in its wake, and severity of which depends on the affected population's resilience or ability to recover. Natural disaster could be of meteorological disaster, which include the floods, tsunamis, cyclones, can be of topographical disasters, which include the earthquake, volcanoes, landslides, asteroids. Environmental disasters include global warming, wildfire, epidemic, ozone depletion, solar flares, etc. Here are the natural disasters. We can say earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, forest fire, drought, snowstorm. So we're gonna discuss in detail the natural disasters. Here are the types of natural disaster, which includes the tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, tsunamis, winter storms, wildfires, avalanches, landslides, droughts, and cyclones. What are the tornadoes? Rotating funnel-shaped cloud from the powerful thunderstorm. It winds up to 300 mph, capable of producing major damage. More occur in United States than anywhere else in the world. They occur in every state in America. Effects of tornadoes in Albercan, we can see there's a huge destruction of buildings. So hurricanes, massive severe storm occurring in the tropics, winds greater than 75 mph, clouds and wind spin around the eye, produce heavy rain, high winds, large waves, and spin off the tornadoes. So earthquake. An earthquake, also known as quake, tremor, or trembler, is the result of a sudden release of energy in the Earth's crust that seizes seismic waves. It is the picture of 2005 Kashmir earthquake. A 7.6 Richter scale quake struck the Kashmir region on the India-Pakistan border and the parts of northern western Pakistan on 8 October 2005, according to official figure. Uh, at least 73,000 people were killed and more than 3.3 million made homeless. Work even continues today to rebuild the damaged infrastructure. Cyclone. Cyclone is a system of wind rotating inward to an area of low barometric pressure with an anti-clockwise northern hemisphere or clockwise southern hemisphere circulation depression. Volcanoes, more than 500 active volcanoes in the world, over half in the ring of fire. Pressure builds below the Earth's surface, producing eruptions of lava, rock, and volcanic gases. So, what are floods? Results from heavy rains may involve river overflowing, storm surge, ocean waves, dams, or leaves or breaking. Most common natural hazard are flash flood that happen very fast. Tsunamis form as a result of earthquakes, volcanoes, or landslide under the ocean. Waves grow taller as they reach the coast. 4 out of 5 occur in the Ring of Fire. Over 2 lakh people killed in the 26 December 2005 Indian Ocean tsunami. It is the destruction in the result of tsunamis. The Ring of Fire is a region around much of the rim of the Pacific Ocean where many volcanic eruptions and earthquakes occur. The Ring of Fire is the horseshoe-shaped belt about 40,000 kilometers long up to the about 500 kilometer wide. Here we can see it in the picture. Winter storms may include snow, ice storms, sleet, freezing rain, and extremely cold temperature. Most deaths occur in the automobiles. Storm may cause widespread power outages. So next we move towards the wildfires. Occur in forests, grassland, and wooded area. Most common causes lightning and human accident burn more than 4 million acres in the US each year. Now we're going to discuss droughts. A drought occur when a region doesn't receive enough rainfall, which leads to severe deficiency in water supply. When the situation persists over an extended period, it changes the ecosystem and destroys the agriculture of the region. Worst case, the Horn of Africa witnessed the worst drought in 60 years in 2011, leaving more than 12.4 million people with limited or no flood supply. Worst drought in Pakistan was faced in 1998 to 2002. The drought of 1998 to 2002 is considered worst in 50 years in Pakistan. The drought started in 1997 as AI Nino developed, but the drought gained intensity in 1998 and reached its peak in 2000 till 2001 and thus gradually weakened in 2000 to the extreme drought also affect much of the Indian and Afghanistan. The World Bank warned that the drought would inevitably hit economic growth of Pakistan. Here we can see the deaths as a result of disasters. On x-axis, there is the years mentioned, while on y-axis there are different types of disaster. Here we can see in 1930, 3 million population was affected by drought. In 1930, 3.7% population was affected by flood, and it gradually decreases. Now we're going to discuss the man-made disasters. A man-made disaster is a disaster resulting from human intent, negligence, or error. Man-made disaster can be both intentional and unintentional. It results in huge loss of life and property. It further affects a person's mental, physical, and social well-being. Here are the different types of man-induced disasters. We can see train accident, aviation incident, shipwreck, traffic collision, structural collapse, bridge collapse, space accident, etc. We can also see the terrorist attack, war, radiation, pandemics, terrorism. These are also the examples of man-made disasters. So, man-made disaster could be biological, chemical, nuclear, radiological, or explosive. In biological threats, a biological attack is release of germs, other biological substances. Many agents must be inhaled, entered through a cut in the skin, or eaten, or could be eaten to make you sick. Some biological agents can cause contagious disease, other do not. Anthrax, Ebola virus are example of biological threats. Then there is chemical threats. Chemical attack is deliberated release of toxic gases, liquid or solid that can poison people and environment. Chemical spill can also wreak the havoc on the environment. Then there are nuclear threats that occurred recently in Japan. Radiation threat, it is not a nuclear blast. The force of the explosion and radioactive contamination will be more localized. Some other example of man-made disasters are Hiroshima, Nagasaki atomic blast, open oil spill in Gulf of Mexico, World War One, World War Two. A stampede is an act of mass impulse among herd of animals or a crowd of people in which the herd collectively begins running with no clear direction of or purpose. So it ultimately leads towards the death and destruction. Oil spill is the release of liquid petroleum hydrocarbons into the environment, especially marine areas, due to human activities and is in the form of pollution. Here we can see the result of oil spill. So here we wind up our presentation. In recent update, we're gonna first introduce the International Day for Disaster Reduction is October 13. Here we're gonna discuss a paper which is published in Center of Disease Control and Prevention with the name of Natural and Human-Made Disaster. Humanitarian responses settings are the emergency room of public health. Life-saving, irreversible decisions frequently are made in early phases of the relief effort. A fundamental task of field epidemiologist is collection and circulation of essential data on the earth and nutritional status of the affected population as accurately as possible in the shortest possible time. The purpose of these data is to help first responders prioritize the intervention most likely to limit excess preventable death. The environment in is often chaotic, uncoordinated, and characterized by logistical and resource constraints. But the epidemiologists need to be claim assertive and able to convey the power of accurately collected and analyzed data. Ultimately, however, successful contribution to disasters response will be measured not on the basis of the elegance and epidemiological investigation, but rather as a function of how many lives are saved. Now we're gonna discuss some MCQs. MCQ number 1 is the Management Committee of Industry XYZ are very much concerned about the safety of their workers because of presence of heavy working machinery and implementation of emergency measures in case of hazardous situation which can arise. A, when there is a threat of natural calamity. B, when there is threat to consequences of disaster. C, when there is a threat to property and life from climates. D, when there is threat to infrastructure. E, when there is a threat to economy. Anyone?
A.
Answer is C. When there is threat to property and life from climate. MCQ number 2 is a natural disaster is a major adverse event resulting from natural processes of the earth when the usual measure to be taken to prevent this damage were not able to prevent their emergencies or were not able to be taken. Which one of the following is not natural disaster? A, volcano, B, flood, C, blowout, D, tsunamis, E, earthquakes.
C.
Yes, the answer is C, blowouts, which is a not a natural disaster. MCQ number 3 is seismic waves are frequently used to search for oil and natural gas deep below the Earth's surface. These waves of energy move through the Earth just as sound waves through the air. Sometimes seismic waves cause disaster named as A, cyclone, B, typhoon, C, tsunami, D, hurricane, E, thunderstorms.
A.
Answer is C, tsunamis. MCQ number 4, an improperly stored stockpile of firework ignites accidentally, leading to a large-scale fire that consumes multiple buildings in a crowded city center. What category of man-made disaster does this situation represent? A, urban fire, B, biological contamination, C, structural failure, D, transportation accident, E, cyber terrorism.
B.
It's urban fire. We discussed the forest fire where the forest is burned. Here we can see the scenario represent an urban situation and fire. So it will be A, urban fire. MCQ number 5. A threat has a potential to cause loss of life, injury, property damage, socioeconomic disruption, or environmental degradation. Among which of the following hazards and disasters are classified? A. Cultural and social. B. Natural and man-made. C. Chemical and physical. D. Human and physical. E. Biological and abiological. Answer is B. Natural and man-made. MCQ number 6, a team of geologists have visited the area XYZ, and the task allocated to them is to report the long climate changes on the environment. Which of the following is not an example of rapid onset disaster? A. Earthquake. B. Drought. C. Cyclone. D. Tsunamis. E. Famine. Anyone? Drought is example of slow onset disaster. So answer will be B. A weather forecast team is an area XYZ has declared emergency and warned people to evacuate the affected area as soon as possible. Which natural disaster can produce the fastest wind on the earth? A. Cyclone. B. Hurricane. C. Tornado. D. Snowstorm. E. Flood. Answer is C. Tornado. MCQ number 8, disaster is a serious problem occurring over a short or long period of time that causes widespread human, material, or economic or environmental loss of the affected community. One could have the information on previous disaster, but it lacks in respect of A, number of deaths, B, number of injured, C, physical damage, D, psychological damage, E, physical and psychological damage. So the answer is
E.
yes, E. Uh, in 2005, Kashmir earthquake occurred and mainly affected the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and surrounding region. It is considered the deadliest earthquake to hit South Asia. In post-disaster phase of this earthquake, the major problem was A. Extreme condition of weather, B. Disruption of community services, C. Poor management of food distribution, D. Spread of communicable diseases, E. Spread of non-communicable diseases. So the answer is D. Spread of communicable diseases. It was a major problem in post-disaster phase. Question number 10. Are dam constructed poorly collapses after heavy rainfall, resulting in flooding of nearby towns and village? What category of man-made disaster does this situation fall under? A. Structural failure. B. Biological hazard. C. Transportation accident. D. Warfare. E. Electrical failure. So it gonna be structural failure as dam constructed poorly as mentioned in the scenario. Here is the key of MCQs. These are the references. This is the our YouTube channel link where presentations are uploaded. Kindly like and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you very much,